Northern neighbors are known for their polite demeanor, cold weather, and of course, delicious maple syrup. But on the racing side, they have a reputation for their brutally unforgiving circuits. Canadian Tire Motorsports Park won't go easy on anyone, so get ready for the PCA Sim Racing Series 13 Sport Class. And you'll see it all live here on RaceSpotTV. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Justin Prince. As well as behind the scenes, we have our director, Ramiro Cisneros. Now, we're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. PCA is also proud to announce that they're celebrating their 70th anniversary in 2025. Here's to many more decades with North America's largest Porsche enthusiast group. Well, as we said, we've reached Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Justin. So why don't you talk us through some of the schedule that we've been looking at?
Well, this is getting towards the midway portion already, but this should be an ebb and flowing type of racetrack tonight. So far, we've seen a drafting track. We've seen a bit more of a technical track when it comes to Algarve. But tonight, it's going to be a mixture of the two, to say the very least, before we head to some classic tracks like Silverstone and Road America towards that second half of the season. It should be an interesting run to the championship, to say the very least, with the calendar with Hungaroring and Imola. But tonight, it's going to be a mixture of the two types of racetracks we've seen so far with this third round of the season.
Yeah, it's a good way of phrasing it, I think. And so far, it's allowed Gilles Estupinian and Olin Murphy to each take a win. With drop week, that means they're tied up there with Gerbino and Ferrer in the same situation there in second place. Aaron Sunday on his own down in fifth, and sees Abuhaka and Lopez tied at 280 points on the sixth position. Whereas we've got Casey on his own. Casey McDonald's in there up against Kevin Schultz, tied at 250 points to round out our top 10. And then, of course, there is the Clean Driver Championship as well here, Justin.
Yeah, Stupinian so far, along with Lopez and Lervold, the only drivers without incident points so far, which is a bit of a feat so far when it comes to a road course in terms of being able to keep it clean, keep themselves out of trouble so far. There's like Jeff Williams and Carl Cherry so far with one incident point on the average. You have Bulkley, who's had two on the average with Clausen, and a couple of the others. Then you have Maine and Hall amongst that top 10. So far, all these drivers keeping it fairly clean on the racetrack, limiting their mistakes, and of course, limiting any contact.
I mean, limiting mistakes probably going to be a big talking point. And well, since I have a Canadian with me, Justin, would you mind doing the honors of telling us a little bit about the circuit?
Well, of course, when it comes to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, a ton of history over the decades when it comes to the circuit. One of the premier, if not the premier tracks in all of Canada in Bowmanville. These racetracks, when it comes to Canada, as you said, can be challenging. And this one is one of those, especially when it comes to his challenges with Glen Corner up to Quebec Corner. Lots of off-track situations with the grass over there. Moss Corner is very punishing, where it's going to be very grippy when it comes to these corners, and a lot of drivers going to almost grip roll in 5A and 5B today. That Mario Andretti straightaway going to be one of your best prime passing opportunities today as well when it comes to this racetrack. This should be a fun night, but it's also going to be a very important night to make sure you maintain good tempo for that Mario Andretti straightaway.
Yeah, it proved to be pretty important last time out with the draft that it offers, and it being so difficult to pass elsewhere around here. But we'll see how it works for the sport class this evening. Gilles Estupinian, currently third in qualifying. Now, he was looking pretty good in practice as well. This is going to be his last flying lap now, but he does not improve on the 15.9 that he had set on his very first lap. He's about half a second off of the pole position, which now is got another driver in between them. It looks like Mimik Karachai just jumped up there onto the front row. So still seeing a few more on these short laps, Justin, putting the last of their three in, so we could see a few more changes.
I think some of the drivers that are a bit shocking to that were doing very well in practice that have not done so well. 22nd at the moment for Russell Elizondo, who was one of the best people in final practice, for example. Some drivers are off by 2 seconds what they did in the practice. You need to be in the 1 minute 15 second bracket to be up towards the front. That is extremely challenging to maintain that sense of rhythm and flow for the entire lap to get there up towards the front. Only a 1:17 flat for the 101 so far, who was second quickest in final practice.
And also, I was kind of watching Olin Murphy, considering he's tied for the top spot in the points. He's down in 16th right now, and he's done with his qualifying. And I don't think this is an aberration. I noticed in practice, he wasn't anywhere near the front, so it seems to be a bit of a sore spot for the 019 car as we watch Elizondo bring his 101 around, sitting in 22nd spot. He's already taken all 3 of his laps, so at this point, all he's doing is giving himself a few practice laps out there. Checking if we had anybody else left. And unfortunately, it looks like everybody on the track I'm seeing have all 3 of them completed.
Yeah, everyone's gone speedily through qualifying here today, it seems like, but it's always best to get more practice with a racetrack like this, just to make sure you get that arc right, especially in Sector 1 and Sector 2. Make sure you have your braking marks right here, for example. That's going to potentially cost you a lot of time if you don't carry a maximum amount of speed. You might actually get rear-ended in Moss Corner here today if you don't maintain enough speed. So at this point, I don't blame any of these drivers for just trying to make sure, Joe, that they get as much reps as they can before going full speed into the race.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would do the same out there. This track has definitely bit me quite a few times, I know, in the years that I've raced it. So I'm sure it's going to gather up a few more. We haven't had that many retirements in the 2 races we've had so far, but it's definitely forced a few drivers into errors throughout our couple of races that we've had as we continue to watch Elizondo wrap up his practice laps in the qualifying session with about a minute left to go, and then it's off to our 5-minute warm-up before we get to the race. So they will get even more practice, and well, apparently Elizondo needed some of that as he's found the wall coming out of the penultimate turn. So the grid is set, and there we can take a look at the weather as well, as it has been for both previous races. Very cool conditions at 19 Celsius and 66 Fahrenheit for the non-metric folks. So it's definitely going to require a bit of warm-up for our drivers, but sounds like we should have our pole lap in a moment. So we'll take a look at that in just a bit here. But Justin, kind of curious what this is going to mean for those drivers out of position, because like we've been saying, not a place where passing is relatively easy.
Yeah, if anything, track position is king at a track like this, even with the drafting section, as you talked about a bit with the straightaways. But with the race like this tonight, if you're amongst that top 10, top 15, you're in a great spot to be able to capitalize, be able to get good points, be able to thrive. For a lot of the air drivers like Owen Murphy, it's going to be like pulling teeth to be able to find your way up to this pack here tonight. If you want to be able to leapfrog drivers, it's going to be extremely difficult for those drivers. That being said, the type of race up towards the front could get very, very interesting depending on what happens. Alan Owens has been outright flying throughout tonight, both in the practice and for the qualifying session, has been setting the tone by a good few tenths of a second. That is a deadly combination of speed, it seems, under the hood of the 401, I think.
And the other interesting thing about all of this is we have seen passes for the lead on lap 1 in both of the previous races. All right, we're on board with Alan Owens down into turn 1. Let's see how he can manage some of these more swift corners. Does look pretty tidy, but a bit off the apex as it'll switch back now into turn 2. Clayton, notorious for catching out drivers, but he hugs that inside line pretty well. Then it switches back into Quebec. Bit of a later apex. You could see him trying to just square that one off, and I'd say he really nailed that one. Certainly got the most out of it before he gets a short breather, cresting over the blind hill of turn 4, and then crunching down into the pavement on the brake into Moss Hairpin. Once again, trying to square it off onto the Mario Andretti straight. Looked to me like, Justin, he was just a bit off that apex once again, but I mean, he's got the pole, so it worked out for him.
Yeah, it's been working out perfect this entire lap, especially with the amount of momentum seen through Moss Corner, I think, compared to some of the others that have been keeping it a little bit more conservative. Just get the arc right before entering the S's, hit just a touch bit of the rumble strip, try and get it where you can just get it pinched to turn left, get through the final corners, get yourself on the gas, don't go to the grass, get a good corner exit. He was really hustling that race car, I think you can argue, in some of these corners compared to some of the others that have been a bit more conservative, even we've seen in some of the practice laps. It's pretty clear the Canadian has a lot of confidence here at this Canadian racetrack.
Yeah, that's a good point. We do have a few locals once again. Owens, as you mentioned, one of them, Volker Krebs, Jeff Gardner, and then Matt Owens also going to be hailing from the Great White North and seeing if they can get good results on home soil. So we're into the warm-up now. This doesn't mean anything except just a bit more practice for the drivers to try and familiarize themselves. So that gives us a chance to go through our starting order. Charlie Fair on, or excuse me, not Charlie Fair, Alan Owens on the pole with Mehmet Karachai in second, as Ben Bulkley will start from third, then Gilles Estupinian in P4. Charlie Fair manages to get himself into fifth, as Dean Chapman will start from the sixth position. Chris Costas starts P7. He'll be flanked by Jeremy Main, with Lee Binkley's 02 car starting from ninth in the top 10, rounded out by Paul Cavanaugh. Kevin Orr will be 11th, and then Jeremy Hall rounds out our first 12. Justin?
Then it's Carlos Lopez starting back in 13th, one of your drivers that have been towards from the standings this season. Jeff Gardner in 14th. Kevin Schultz will start back in 15th, all the way in 16th. It's Owen Murphy. After setting a 1:16.1 in qualifying, Casey McDonald and Adam Gerling, the top 18 positions. Next page, Brian Stern starts off in 19th, looking to scream for ice cream alongside Chad Young. Then you have Todd Goldberg and Russell Elizondo. Elizondo way off what he was able to do in final practice. Jonathan Kuo will start 23rd, and Aaron Sunday way deep in the field in 24th.
Yes, strange to see him so far back. Angerberg Zona starting 25th, Marcel Eunice in the 26th spot. Matt Owens starts 27th today with Jim Walsh in 28th. You've got Carl Boccieri 29th in top 30, rounded out by Will Wolf. From there, it's Nathan Abuhaka starting 31st. Volker Krebs will be in 32nd, and Mike Sachs will start from 33rd. He'll have Patrick Gill to his outside, followed by Randall Ayers starting in 35th. 36 goes to Peter Yurtza, and we still have more here, Justin.
Andrew Long back there in 37th, Ward Preston. And the 007 machine will start 38th. Then, precision finding speed from Jeff Williams, 39th, however, on the grid. Then it is, we'll start in 40th position, Andrew Elsom in 41st, Nick Whitehill in 42nd. Randy Lervold all the way back in 43rd, one of our cleanest drivers so far. Then it's Art Klassen in 44th. Jake Urbino, we talked about him in the point standings in the early going. 45th in the standings with a 1:17 flat in qualifying. Chris Dankowitz, and then the last driver is not at the facility at the moment. That is Federico Del Toro in your field.
A bit sad we won't get to see him line up, as he just comes off of a win earlier this week over at Road Atlanta in the Porsche Owners Club series, another Porsche-centric series that I cover. But that was in the GT4 car, so that's a bit different from what we're going to see here today, which is the 911 GT3R, the 992 version of that model. So quite a bit faster. Even still, 46 drivers out there, all of them set times, and there's only about a little less than 2 seconds between all 46 cars. This is incredibly closely matched, Justin.
And again, shows the precision needed for qualifying and why having practice is important, why having lots of track experience is important when it comes to this car and this track combination. But in all seriousness though, some of the keys that you have to think about for victory tonight: keeping yourself on the racetrack, keeping yourself consistent, and making sure you maintain momentum consistently around said racetrack. Going to be some of those major points to make sure you come away with the victory tonight, especially since there's a good chance we might see the 4-1 try and make a break for it from the onset with the speed we've seen out of him so far tonight.
He does not want to fall victim to what we've had twice now. The pole sitter losing the lead on lap 1. Can he keep Karachai behind him for the lap? Or will it be maybe Bulkley or Estupinian who try and overtake? Remember, Estupinian tied for our points lead coming into this one. Pace car peels in. Now they have to wait patiently for the call from the flag stand, but it usually comes pretty soon. And there it is, right there. Green flag is out. Bit of a stack up on that inside line and a little bit of a run there from third place as well. Bulkley going to try and take P2 away from Karachai as they come down into Clayton Corner. He's almost fully clear. Can he make it? No. It's going to be a fight back from Mehmet, and he's going to be back into P2. Almost contact as Charlie Fair takes third away instead.
Taking the preferred lane alive. That send going up from Karachai, I think, kind of spooked Bulky, who opened the door, left that line open, couldn't get to the arc he wanted to. Now it's about getting yourself set up for Moss, as already Owens picking up a decent buffer, 4, 5, 6 car lanes. And right now, Karachai not having good corner exits just made it up to 8 car lanes.
He's losing touch quickly here, so Owens sitting pretty on the Mario Andretti straight for the first lap, not under threat, although it looks like Fair could maybe do something for Karachai if they feel brave coming into the braking, well, if you could call it braking, of turn 8, just a brush off of there before they get the car turned in. But no, they will stay single file. So good to see that this one was actually a relatively clean start so far. Jeff Gardner's actually dropping down the order, but he's not off the track right now. Not sure what caused that one.
Believe he's got damage right now. We've already had Nick Whitehill pull out of the race as well. So a couple different drivers have picked up some damage in the back part of the field, or from the midfield, should say. But Owens extremely precise right now. He's already just about broken up drafting distance. That's how quickly he's been pushing it, and how much he's been using some of the runoff almost up towards the curbing, just trying to pull this gap. He's pulled another 4/10 this lap already.
This is impressive. Might be the one to go from lights to flag on the win, and this is what happened. Big hit on that inside curve for Gardner. So he got away with it. He didn't hit the outside wall, but yeah, he's going very slow. So wonder if that did hurt the suspension.
Yeah, that definitely hurt the race car from that slide. And at this point, you're thinking, what could have been for your race at this mark? He had already came in for the fast repair. That's how bad the damage was. So he is now at least with a clean race car, but still lost 28 seconds from the whole ordeal, from having to come down the pit lane and use it already.
Must have hit him at exactly the wrong spot. What happens to Andrew Elsom? Oh, the Rexy car just about loses out, keeps it off the wall, keeps going, but Elsom falls down to 44th out of our 45 cars, only followed now by Jeff Gardner. This that we're watching on screen is currently between Ferrer, Bulkley, Estupinian, and Chapman, all kind of lining up in a row. They continue to lose touch, not just with our leader, but Karachai has started to get himself some breathing space.
Yeah, now just getting themselves broken away rhythm-wise, even with the draft right now. No one's necessarily slipstream like, say, a Road America right now. It's more so a draft lock in this pack at the moment. We do have a black flag already, and guess what? It's involving that incident with Gardner. Owen Murphy's troubles have stacked Joe. He's gotten a black flag for the causes of incident from that previous incident.
Oh, man. It's going from bad to worse for him today. Arnie Clayson. Whoa! Oh, no. And he was not able to avoid. So we had the very clean first lap, and then it unraveled from there. And you could see some severe damage on the nose of that car. It looks like that. I'm trying to make out who that purple machine was, but it looks like they did catch the grass, and that's what spun them.
And that's what I mentioned about the runoff space. Oh, Casey McDonald on this, taking a couple cars with them on contact down the straightaway. That was not a pretty sight. That was just moments ago for the 764, where again, had a car alongside and Elizondo. They got hooked together, crashed them into the concrete barriers.
I was able to find it. It was Will Mungia who was off and spinning in that one replay we saw through Clayton Corner, the purple machine. So he's kind of limped back to pit lane and is going to take his free repair. Still waiting for Olin Murphy to serve his penalty. And we got another one with Carl Boccieri as well. getting loose coming into turn 8, just brushes the wall, gets it back onto the circuit. Well, we said how difficult this track is, and it looks like it is rearing that ugly head quite early, Justin.
What did I say? It's a rhythm racetrack. To be able to set yourself momentum-wise in rhythm, it gets yourself set up for success. You break that momentum, you break that rhythm in any way, well, it's hard to be able to get any of it back. Whether it's Clayton corner, you set a tire off, boom, it stacks everything up. Whether it's run to the Moss corner, get yourself loose, make contact maybe down the Mario Andretti straightaway, makes it worse. Abu Haka, this is a good example. You have a bad moment in terms of momentum in Moss corner, someone runs you over, spins you out.
Has to wait patiently, does a good job of trying not to have an unsafe rejoin, even goes as far as to back himself up a bit, although he did hit the wall, so hopefully that didn't do too much damage to his car. But back up the Mario Andretti straight once again. Charlie Fair with a good run on Karachai. He's reeled him back in. How aggressive does he want to be coming into turn 8? He's got him sized up, but I don't think he's close enough. And no, indeed, he has to hold behind for another turn.
Gave him a car length or two, then drafted. That's not enough to be able to make a pass. You have to be able to be smart on some of these moves. You already know, though, based on some of these lines, the mistakes will come if you pressurize them in a situation like this. And Ferrer, I think, is just trying to stare him down, try and get him squared up, figure it out, try and see if he can force a mistake from Karachai, who's using a lot of X's with the clipping of the grass.
Yeah, let's not forget they do have that incident limit here. And remember, they changed it this season to where there's no longer a black flag that sends you in for a drive-through. It is an immediate disqualification when you hit 25 incidents. For those not familiar with iRacing, an incident is basically a set of points that you earn for off tracks or running into the walls, spinning the car, or hitting another car. So once you hit enough of those incident points, 25 of them, as I said, you are immediately removed from the track and your race is over. It keeps everybody clean, incentivizes them to not make too many off tracks or too much contact out there. As we check in with Aaron Sunday, he's got a very good run, Justin. Let's see what happens.
This time it looks like a good chance to be able to swing it up the outside, make the move the long way around if you choose. It looks like Sunday just being smart about it, though, because that requires a lot more speed than what he had there to be able to set things up precisely. Sunday's doing a good job being able to make passes, though, although he is using a lot of track to do so. So far, he's gone up 8 spots in this race. He still has drivers like Brian Stern keeping him honest, though.
Yeah, making up for that poor qualifying. He's not having a lazy Sunday, that is for sure. And Brian Stern is on the aggression now behind him. After that mistake, all of them looking shallow into turn 3, starting with that defense in front of them from Chad Casey on wanting to try and hold desperately on to 15th. Can he stay there as they come up in a Moss corner? Again, cars fanning out, looking for the pass, and now trying to line up the exit.
And yet again, Sunday, Gieson corner exit has that slipstream. I don't think is close enough unless he forces it to the outside again to make the move. And this is the tough thing. You may have a faster car, you may be faster in some sections, but it only gets you so far unless you get into the right mindset, or better yet, have drivers that give you space. This time, the 880 hard into the wall. Just lit up the tires too hard on the gas on corner exit.
Unfortunate to see. We've had another black flag, this time from Mungia for his incident that we saw on replay spinning through turn 2. As we check back in to the battle for 4th now. Bulkley still ahead of Gilles Estupinian. Actually, wasn't that reversed? Wasn't Estupinian in 4th when we last looked?
Believe so. And remember, Estupinian's actually had set the fastest lap recently. Although Estupinian, at one point a little while ago, had to close up the gap by at least 6-7 car lengths. He's doing a very solid job in the first half of the track to get up to Bulky, But the second half of the track, Bulky, I've been keeping an eye on, has been able to extend it coming out of Moss and make it hard for Estepinian to do much to battle away more than 3 seconds behind the leader.
So I think I must have been remembering wrong. So since the start of the race, Gilles has been stuck behind him in 5th position, but he did start in that 4th spot. We check back in with Paul Cavanaugh, showing off his actual Porsche behind them. That is really cool. It looks like, I would guess, somewhere in the late 70s or early 80s of the 911s.
And you can see what I was about to say, though. Have you seen the facial expressions? He's basically having to take deep breaths with how he's taking this track. It's really been physically tolling on him.
Absolutely. I like to see drivers that actually show some emotion out there. I'm sure it's not desirable because you want to manage those emotions during the race, but giving us a little bit of humanity out there lets us know that it is stressful behind the virtual wheel. Yeah, sorry for cutting. I was gonna add in. I unfortunately don't really know my Porsche's too great just by visual, but that'd be my guess. I'm sure there's a lot of fans watching, yelling me, telling me that I'm way off on something or other as we continue to follow them up into turn 8 once again, and Estepinian now falling off of Bulkley once more, who's also losing touch with Ferrer in front of him. Look at the big gap up to P3. It's now up to nearly 2 seconds.
Yeah, the past couple laps, it's been extending more and more, especially this time by. It has gone to the full 2 seconds. Carlos Lopez has been having some technical blips going on with the 26 machine. But as amongst those, has got the full Porsche seat, got himself very comfortable, looking like he's almost got a Porsche-style dash as well built into his sim racing rig with the triples.
So cool. I love the way drivers can customize their sim rig. And some go to more than just creature comforts out there, that is for sure, to make sure that it says something about them. Meanwhile, back in the battle for 11th, Jeremy Hall versus Paul Cavanaugh. Looks like Cavanaugh was taking a peek down in the Moss corner, but couldn't quite make that one stick. So they all get back onto the gas as we weave uphill, and it's a long uphill. That's something we haven't really talked about even in the previous 2 races, Justin, how much you climb on this backstretch.
Yeah, there's a decent amount of incline when you think about it, when you walk around this racetrack, to go from the bottom of the Maryland Andretti straightaway up to the top. Don't have the exact elevation total, but I can tell you it's decently like 10-15 degree grade almost, like up that hill when it comes to that parts of the racetrack that really impacts things, even though it's a drafting section. Cavanaugh, a terrible corner exit through turn 1 there, just about missed his apex, and that's going to cost him some time for the next few laps.
Certainly is no longer on the back of Jeremy Hall, who's focused forward now on Kevin Orr. And then we check back in with Aaron Sunday, who's been the latest victim on Clayton Corner. Great heads up by everybody to try and avoid. Popping up over, though. My good. Oh, and it all came apart in the end as the car that he upset just unfortunately was parked exactly where he needed to be. Both of them stuck on the inside.
And that time, he just tried to make sure he didn't go wide into the grass, and it almost bit him. He already had rear end damage from previous contact, believe, actually, on his car that put him down back again around 20th position. So things had snowballed for Sunday. He's already taken the faster pair.
That was Brian Stern that he was held up by, that kind of popped off track and trying to avoid him. Marcel Eunice gets into the back of another car down through Moss Corner, and both of them having to try and take a bit of an awkward line returning onto the track. It was Elizondo, it looks like, the 101. You mentioned not really able to replicate his practice speed and finding things just not going his way here in the race itself. I think we had a couple drivers elect to take an early stop that were involved in some of these incidents. It looks like Lervold, Clayson, I think, has been in Boccieri looks like he's taken a scheduled stop as well. So definitely a few out there that are trying to maybe get a bit of clear air while they've got the opportunity.
Or take fast repairs to be able to fix their cars.
True.
Because in the case of a couple of them, we've seen how big some of the contact is. Drivers like Elizondo, I think, are just trying to wait it out for pit stops, not put themselves out of the pit stop strategy, or about a quarter way to the action. And some of these are groupings have a bit more calmness to them. Karachai seems to have calmed down his mistakes. He's still keeping Owens within 2 seconds.
And I'm seeing Aaron Sunday with a black flag. I'm looking through, and I don't see him getting one from race control. So that has to mean that he must have sped in pit lane when he came down in there.
That just compounds things. It just absolutely compounds the issues and situation for Sunday, to say the very least. And that's going to be very frustrating for him, with him being towards the top of the point standings entering today.
Look at Jeremy Main, Binkley behind him. Orr is in there. You've got Jeremy Hall not too far back, along with Kavanaugh. They finally have a break after that, though, but it goes all the way from 8th to 12th.
Choo-choo train effect all forming up here. It's almost like a conga line of cars just trying to keep themselves at tempo.
Well, while we've got the opportunity, we do want to mention Princess Cruises, because they are the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. So we continue to watch and see Mehmet Karachai hold on to second. In fact, we switch back to Jeremy Main now, though, in this 8th position with a train of cars following him. This is definitely a track where you want to have all those cars behind you, because, you know, like we keep saying, track position is king here.
Yeah, and right now Main's making a break for it. Binkley's not been having a good past couple laps, and Main is just trying to leapfrog himself. What happened to Elizondo yet again? This time, oh my goodness, another driver makes some mistakes when Quebec quarter hits the curbing, pushes him up. Elizondo's been treated like a punching bag today. Then more crashes.
Wow. Ooh. This has been a rough one. I mean, we had our share of incidents at the last 2 races last week, but they seemed to come more towards the end of the race when the tires were worn out. Drivers here early on just cannot seem to get a handle on this place, and we're only a third of the way into it.
Of note, Aaron Sunday hasn't left the pit lane since that black flag, by the way, so I think he may have stepped away after that. It's going to be a drop likely for Aaron Sunday, and that's going to be pretty big for the championship. You never want to use your drop. You never want to rely upon a drop week, Joe, and for some drivers that's going to be the case. Let's see what happened here in the incident. One driver got loose with that wide apex, and it just stacked everybody up in turn 1. Just ended up being a pop-on effect for everyone else behind.
Not a place where you want things to unfold in front of you. You can see how narrow it is between turns 1 and 2. So there's few places to try and escape. Charlie Fair still in 3rd, jumped up from 5th at the start of this race. Fantastic job, and has been grabbing this opportunity with both hands. Now, don't expect to see many drivers, especially at the front, to pit at this stage, because usually the traditional strategy that most go by is to try and run the car as long as possible. The earliest we tend to see drivers in is about the halfway point. At 30 minutes to go, Ferrer, though, maybe not a completely perfect one as he put 2 wheels into the dirt, and that's allowed Bulkley to catch up to him.
Just a little bit, but just those types of mistakes, you can't let them build on. I know I repeat that a lot, but it's that type of racetrack where One mistake opens up the door for multiple passing opportunities and multiple seconds lost when you stack up like that. For Farrell right now, he's been able to maintain things at the moment, to continue the pace, to be able to set forward at the moment, to be able to run away. It's just the tough thing is second place hasn't been able to close up. Karachai's been able to break away a little bit more faster pace with how he's been going.
Glad we keep checking in with this battle for 8th down there. Maine, Binkley, Orr, Hall, Kavanaugh. Does look like Maine's getting himself a little bit more room behind him, so I think he's probably feeling better at this stage, although the 555 is about 1.5 seconds behind Costas, so he still has some work if he wants to try and take a position in front of him, but at least he's relieved a bit of the pressure that he's been feeling behind. Instead, the battle now looking like it's a bit more for 9th place, with Lee Binkley being the one getting a little bit of motion in his mirrors from Kevin Orr.
Yeah, Kevin Orr doing a solid job maintaining the top 10 at the moment. I do like that paint scheme. It's probably been talked about over the years, but Kevin Orr just likes the PCA so much that he duplicated the PCA logo just about everywhere over the race car. It's almost like a blurry sticker full of race car logos when it comes to Kevin Orr. He's doing a solid job in that blue, red, and white machine.
Yeah, it is definitely an eye-catching one. And he is doing a great job. In fact, he got himself a good exit coming off of turn 5. Andrew Long, though, did not get a good exit off of 9 and wound up parked at the side of the road, unfortunately. And Russell Elizondo just happened to have almost the same incident at the same time, got into the other car. Wow, that is just atrocious luck for the pair of them.
And you can probably guess Russell Elizondo is coming in right now for a pit stop. It's been a horrific race for the 101 machine. Just the mistakes in qualifying has compounded into outright disaster. And this racetrack is so quick when it comes to the laps and the smaller size and footprint. Oh, more trouble. Cars in the middle of the racetrack. That is Dean Chapman from the top 12 that just about clipped cars trying to get to the grass.
And that, I think, involved the other one we saw in the background, which was Adam Gerling. So a couple cars taken out in one. We've had a number of black flags. I don't think we've mentioned yet Elsom, Eunice. Actually, if I see right, Marcel Eunice has had 3 black flags in quick succession. This is wild. And Gerling, oh, man, big hit between the pair of them. And that is definitely going to be a race over for at least one of them.
Faster pair for Gerling at least taken, but man, oh man, is all you could really say for some of these drivers with the luck they're having. Owens is having not too much trouble, but here's my concern is you're now reaching lap traffic, and we've seen how chaotic some of the traffic is. It's a little bit more of a clean pocket for now at least, but with some of the people having to already take repairs, take pit stops, take fast repairs, it's offset a lot of that traffic to spots where drivers may not be expecting it at portions of this race, and it could factor in some battles. Kevin Orr doing a great job trying to swoop around the outside to set up a move, but the problem is Binkley's doing a good job maintaining defensive lines to keep him at bay.
Both Orr and Kavanaugh on the attack in their respective battles there. Let's see what happens coming out of Moss this time amongst this quartet. Kavanaugh is practically glued to that rear bumper. Question is, will that allow him to get the shot he needs? Yes, it looks like it does. He is extremely tight to that bright white car in front of him of Jeremy Hall. Can he manage to make the pass coming up into turn 8? He's going to have to be fully side by side if he wants to do it. And as the quartet comes into this one, he's close but no cigar. He tries an outside move but has to fade back. By the way, you had mentioned Owens versus Karachai. For a while, Mehmet had pulled it back down to about a second apart. So I don't know if Owens is managing that lead or if he genuinely can't seem to get away.
Big Banshee because just at the fastest lap to pull away. Todd Goldberg squeezing down into turn one, making some contact there. Sends him for a side slide. He's right now running in the top 14 still, despite contact like that. Some of these drivers are getting a little bit brave on their defensive moves because they just don't want to fall backwards in the running order. There's been a lot of requests for reviews here tonight. Race control's been kept busy.
Yeah, Ward Preston, the latest to get a black flag. Also, Matt Owens wound up in an accident that left him backwards out of turn one and is now fallen all the way down to 25th position. Meanwhile, we continue to watch this fight for, I guess we should call this a battle for, well, no, it is a battle for 8th at this stage because I think they lost at least one person. Binkley still at the front of it. It was battle for 8th for Jeremy Main in front of them, but he started to run away. Here's what happens with Matt Owens. Gets a massive run, looks for a 2-for-1 deal down into turn one. So where does it fall apart for him? Oh, just a little bit of contact. And, yes. Oh, okay, so that wasn't what sent him around, though. It sent another car around.
Yeah, that was the one that sent the Blue Machine for a side slide just moments ago in turn one. He was the one who got squeezed on, essentially. But not much you can really do when you're already on the curbing. You can say outside of just hope you don't get involved in whatever happens to your left.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out who that blue car was, but I can't find them quite yet. So we'll check in on that a little later, see if we can track that one down. And man, the excitement has definitely been in the mid-pack, as this group won't let us look away for too long at all. And it looks like you figured out who it was, Justin?
Yes, that was Goldberg previously. Yes.
Okay. So we had noted that one before. As we come around and out of the final turn, this group, Alan Owens with another fastest lap. Good catch on that, by the way, on whether or not he's just managing it. So, yeah, great eye on that, Justin. It does appear that Owens is just kind of doing what he can. Matt Owens, though, yeah, this is the one that I saw, and that was hard into that concrete.
Too much speed coming through the apex off. That's all you can really say. Once you carry too much speed like that, it just grip rolls, spins up the tires, slams to the wall.
Sorry, that was Kevin Orr. We've been watching this fight for so long, and it was Kevin the one who cracks instead of Lee Binkley. He falls backwards, and Jeremy Hall gets a position, moves up into 9th now.
I think Kevin just tried to do that outside swoop to Quebec, try to make it stick to the outside, try and do the same thing he'd been doing a few laps, but this time it didn't rotate. Just carried too much speed, didn't rotate, didn't cut, and ends up pushing him off the racetrack, and he makes a mistake.
Chris Costas in 6th. Oh, Jeremy Main's run him down. I mentioned he had a bit to go to catch up to him. Well, that bit has been eaten up, and now there's not much between him and the 6th position in that 719 car. Half the race left to go. More cars still coming out of pit lane. So far, we've only lost, it looks like, potentially 5. Gerling, Yunus, Sunday, Elsom, and Gardner, I think, the only cars that are officially out.
Mungia adding more to his damage, flying. Ooh. Some picturesque crashing through the gravel. But what happened to Randall Ayers? G gets up too much speed, and he adds more tires into the grass. We're having so many trembles and incidents in that section coming out of Clayton Corner that the cars are leaving grass marks at the moment.
Yeah, it's becoming quite the messy course, that is for sure. They have chewed up a lot of the off-track and have done a lot to chip at the walls as well. Do we have another change of position in this group? Binkley.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. And Kavanaugh versus the likes of Jeremy Hall. No, excuse me, of Lee Binkley. Binkley's going to lose 2 positions and basically 1 straightaway. So both Binkley and Kevin Orr have lost out in recent times. This has worked out beautifully for Jeremy Hall, now up to 8th.
Not sure if he just carried too much speed and started losing grip and had to back out of the gas coming out of Moss corner, or if he just wanted to let somebody go and it ends up leading to 2 spots lost. A bit of a confusing one to say the very least for Binkley, but on the bright side, he's still in the top 10. He still maintains a rhythm, but downside, he's got Kevin Orr with a bumper already.
And now Orr and Binkley find themselves battling behind this group, so they'll carry it on, not the way they wanted that to go. So they come around and try and work their way up the backstretch once again. It's all about who gets that exit, who's got the speed, and maybe who can affect the right strategy, because remember, we're now hitting that halfway mark in this race, which leads us, of course, to the important message that Princess Cruises is the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. And as I'm saying that, Lee Binkley has headed into the pit lane. Aaron Sunday is also coming out, so Sunday is no longer a DNF for this race.
That's interesting. I think he might be just trying to make up some of the spots because drivers like Eunice have not come out of the pit lane, like Gerling. There are some potential points left on the table if you just stay in the pit lane. But we are at that strategy window where for some people, it's simple. Just split it halfway. Should see these drivers extending a little bit more further out, though, before it becomes an outright pit party. And what is a tough pit entry here on the service.
Now, remember, Binkley was within our top 10 out there, so he was pretty far up the order. Not typical to see someone in the top quarter of the field be pitting at the halfway mark. That's Casey on that we were watching has also just finished his stop and is back out and rolling. But what this does do is that group that we were watching there, that we've returned to now, Jeremy Hall there on your screen in the white machine, now has maybe just a bit more clear track. And I wonder if that's helping him, because with no battle behind, it looks like he's actually catching Jeremy Main a bit in front of him.
In just a little bit, Todd Goldberg, by the way, catching a little bit of the wall after sliding his way to the S's. Some hard contact to add more to the damage, but I was about to say, Main's been doing a great job this entire run to be able to close the gap, to be able to get himself rolling. Bulky has gone to pit road because he just locked up, hit the wall, cost himself a lot of time, just couldn't maintain speed in Moss, carried too much of it, and now he's already elected to pit.
Yeah, don't blame him. Like we said, this is where the pit window feasibly opens for them, even if it's not ideal. So maybe just coming in, taking that spare car and getting back on his way. Main actually forcing a defense from Randall Ayers, although, excuse me, that's not a defense. That's Ayers getting out of the way because he's a lapped car.
Yeah, just starting to see more lap traffic overlap starting to pop up a little bit here. Starting to see, because of that traffic a little bit, starting to see some of these buffers build back up a bit more. Almost have to think maybe about the timing of the pit stop on when you come in, where you're going to come out. There is a chance that you end up losing a lot of time because of traffic with how difficult it is to make a move. You have a lot of time bleed where it might cost you a couple seconds if you enter into a gaggle of cars instead of open track.
I've had some drivers that have gained a lot, but because we've had so many in a pit lane already, I'm not sure how legitimate this number of positions is. Volker Krebs and Mike Sachs are up 20 each from the start of this race, but they both owe us a pit stop. Also, an odd one, Jake Gerbino is up 22, and that's in spite of a black flag, but he also owes us a pit stop, so he's probably going to lose a whole slew of positions pretty soon. But it struck me when I saw that 22 next to his name, because I remembered that he had that black flag. I'm kind of amazed that he is as high up as he is. Oh my gosh, that was way off there. And then coming back on track in a 3 wide, running into somebody, trying to figure out who that is. That was Jim Walsh with a horrible rejoin and running into the side of Mike Saxton.
Aaron Sunday right in the mix of all this. This is not a pretty spot to have traffic. And what did I say? Traffic tries to let somebody go. You reach for the wrong spot. In that case, Saxton ends up choosing right as Sunday tries to let cars go, bottles everything up, and then it becomes a hornet's nest. Then the rejoin makes things absolutely worse.
Yeah, that was rough all around. Mike's heading into pit lane. Did not want to be involved in that one, and I think Jim Walsh is going to follow him, and yes, in fact, he does. Probably also going to take his spare car as he really speared off the track. So, and that was a strange one from, that was Saxton trying to just gather the car up that we were watching there on that replay. So that was up that backstretch after he got his damage. Yet more cars having to take that spare car. Starting to wonder how many drivers will have that free repair left in their pocket by the checkered flag.
It's going to make the incident championship very interesting for the cleanest driver, to say the very least. Karachai into the pit lane, the 78. So the leaders are starting to peel on down for their stop with 24 minutes remaining.
That's right. Driver from second place now into pit lane. Before, our highest pitter was Ben Bulkley. He's since pitted since Lee Binkley did. So both of them have been in and out. Karachai still taking his service. Bulkley's actually coming through the penultimate turn right now. And, Mehmet was in because he had an incident. Was he no longer in second when we saw him pitting?
I believe it was still up towards the front there, but that is a bad slide yet again. He had taken a full twirl around and can confirm that he still held on to second with the contact, with the buffer he built with the pit stop strategy. He's probably not going to be second after the pit stops, though.
Well, he did take his free repair, so that kind of saved his bacon a little bit. He was able to drive it back. I mean, if he stayed in second, though, that's really impressive because I thought Charlie Fair was not that far behind him. Charlie still needs to come in for his pit stop. Gilles Estupinian is a long ways back, though, behind him. So still waiting on the top 11, as well as a few more behind them to all come in, take their fuel, and get back out on the track.
Yeah, and again, kind of emphasizes the importance of speed, more speed. Lighter the car, the faster the car in theory, right? When it comes to pit stop strategy, drivers like Binkley only took 15-second pit stops. Some of the drivers on full tank with Karachai went up to 17 seconds. Some drivers up to 21 seconds, like Jim Walsh after he threw it to the barrier. So for the further you go, the less fuel you need to, in theory, need to take. And it does save you a little bit more time in that pit window. And some of these drivers are already knowing that by extending this window further and further.
Okay, it can be a lot more accurate as to how much you need with fewer laps left. And like you said, yeah, especially these sports cars here on iRacing, known for getting quicker as they get lighter. The tires do tend to last pretty decently if you treat them right. That said, this track has a lot of long extended corners that are medium and high speed, so they have to be really gentle on them, or else they're going to find that they will be chewed up by the end. Jeremy Main, though, looks like he's had enough. He's going to pit in. I expect that Karachai should emerge ahead of him. Bulkley probably as well. Now, Binkley's a question mark, though, because Binkley was chasing on Jeremy Main.
Yet, not bad to say the very least. We've been keeping an eye a lot on Jeremy Hall in all this. But seeing Main in the pit lane, looks like he's amongst those just saying, I'm going to take tires here. Get yourself up on the jacks at the moment. Main taking a fair bit of time with that decision, has elected to take an 18-second pit stop.
Wow. I mean, he got massively jumped. Was he involved in an incident we didn't know about? Because, excuse me. Binkley's just ahead of him. I was looking at Bulkley. I got my names confused. Apologies. So he is, he's okay. He's come out maybe about 2 seconds behind Binkley. That said, 4 seconds difference was all that was needed. The 02 car essentially gets a position in the pit stop sequence.
And now,
Ooh, sorry, our leader just came in. Go ahead.
I was about to say, I think it's time for your pit stop party to really ramp up. Costas coming in this time by. Leader already ducking down to the lane. Looks like everybody going to try at least jump on the jacks before they get going here. 17 seconds. Not the shortest, but not the longest pit stop from Owens. Could be good as Kavanaugh now up to a race high 4 for the pit cycle. Were those a couple cars just off of the track again?
I was looking at my timing screen. I'd missed it there as we watched on board with Kavanaugh, who still needs to come in for a pit stop. What interested me more is I forgot we saw Mehmet Karaçay, so that explains it. I was trying to figure out why Karaçay was 10 seconds behind Alan Owens. So yes, his slide did hurt him in the fight for the win. It looks like it's going to be unlikely he'll take that victory unless the traffic really works out well for him in comparison, as Randy Lervold across the track and unfortunately takes out his compatriot.
That's what I seen in the corner of my eye with the cars off the racetrack. For drivers like Kavanaugh, they had no idea what was happening in front of them. You can't see through the cars. They're not transparent. In that case, Lervold hitting the grass kind of sparked him into contact. And Estepinian, a part of a pit party of drivers this time by.
Including Charlie Ferrer. Is he going to emerge ahead of Mehmet? Let's see. Charlie's up to about 16 seconds. Yeah, I'd say he will, because Karaçay's just coming around the final corner, and Ferrer is exiting pit lane right now. So second place for the number 28. Him keeping it on track and a nice and tidy pit stop. It could get him the second step on the podium.
I think Ferrer's in a great position, absolutely, for that. Does he have the speed to get up to Owens? No, I don't think so. In fact, Owens has stretched it out by 3-something on seconds now, this pit window. It's been that dominant so far for him. For drivers like Hall, should be still in a good spot for some battling in the top 10 as some more smoke pumps for some mistakes through Moss.
Yeah, those are, well, not the only two. Ankerberg Zona owes us a pit stop, and Matt Owens as well. So about 4 cars that still need to come in, take fuel. Some of them stretching it as far as they dare. 15 minutes to go, I think, was about the longest we saw anybody go in the other 2 classes, as Kevin Orr becomes the latest to pit in now out of what was second place. Owens going to take that one away from him. And we had another car just I saw going in. I didn't quite make out who that was, though, as I saw that go by us with about 17 minutes left to go. It's been almost clinical, I'd say, from Alan Owens and how he's been running this race.
Outright dominant is what I think I would argue for. His rhythm's been perfect. He's made very minimal mistakes. I do know at this point he's going to be dealing with some traffic the rest of the way, so that's going to be the key thing, is making sure he keeps a cool head in traffic. Drivers like Karaçay going to be in battling. I think you're keeping an eye on the live action with Owens too. He did make some mistakes, Owens did off camera here. So drivers like Karaçay are going to have to battle to keep a top 5, but drivers like Owens are going to have to battle with themselves and the traffic. Yeah,
I did indeed catch that. Owens going 2 wheels in the dirt coming through Moss Corner. Thankfully, did a good job holding it together. But what this did do is it meant that Charlie Ferrer gained about a second on him. And it's now down to about 1.1, 1.2. So that's going to get very fascinating in all of this as we watch Mehmet Karaçay also try to play catch-up. Jeremy Hall finally pits in with 16 minutes left to go. Where does he come back out in all of this? Probably a bit behind Kevin Orr and co, since I think he was behind them before.
Yeah, still maintaining a battle for the top 10 here with the positioning. Not enough to trump Kavanaugh and Orr, but still good enough to at least stay in the draft. Oh, he actually did jump Orr with the squeeze there. That was a little bit close.
Yeah, that was as tight as you like, and great guts from Jeremy Hall to not back out of it or wanted to get by him. But it is single file 10 times out of 11 up through Clayton Corner. So Kevin Orr will have to work hard to try and get that one back, as the 077 also of Matt Owens is the last to take a pit stop. That's as good a time as any to mention that we're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As is the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. All right, so your order now that pit stops are done, at least for our podium, is Owens, Ferrer, Karachai. So we've had a bit of a change, but more importantly, Alan Owens showing that he is not impervious to mistakes.
Yeah, especially with this traffic distracting him and starting to build up some of the frustration a little bit with said traffic. I understand you want to be able to try and get clean traffic, make sure you don't have anything holding up, make sure you don't have anything that costs you. But he needs to make sure he just focuses on his own race at this point. Make sure you don't go on the off track, make sure you don't risk it at this point. He is pushing a fair bit because Charlie Ferrer just lost a lot of time this lap with traffic, it looks like, too.
He did indeed. He was the one to make the mistake of going a little bit far wide into Moss Corner, trying to lap traffic as well, much like we saw Alan Owens doing when he made his mistake. So it seems, you know, in all the key factors you pointed out today, lap traffic has proved to be one as well, managing it safely and quickly.
And making sure you don't reach at the wrong spots. In a lot of these cases, drivers are reaching them at horrible spots, and it's becoming traffic give it, traffic take it away when it comes to this time bleed on the racetrack. It's been that type of a night since around 15 minutes in because of the drivers with the faster pairs, but it's getting even more difficult now for the finish.
I do want to say, again, always trying to give some love to our hard chargers, is Randall Ayers was showing us something unfortunate there until we had a little bit of a connection issue, and looks like the results are rather obvious, though. And Olin Murphy, this is a race to forget for the 019. Definitely going to have to count this one as his drop week. Brian Stern also spinning. This seems more like what we saw at the end of both the pro and the club races. Cars were having a lot of trouble with the rear tire grip, Justin.
Yeah, and we're seeing this continuously popping up with drivers just carrying so much speed coming out of the corner. They just end up slipping and sliding. You end up losing that rear traction. Suspension doesn't want to stick. That tire grip doesn't want to stick. It's been really punishing in turn one, especially for some drivers noticing, as well as coming out of Clayton Corner here today. For a lot of the top drivers, they've been able to find that balance of pushing that limit while also making sure they don't slide off. Another one slid off.
This is on board with Bulkley trying to catch up to Estupinian for fourth. Gilles back to where he started this race in that P4. And I had mentioned giving love to the hard chargers. Volker Krebs up 17 positions. Mike Sachs as well up 17. They are in 15th and 16th spot respectively. So great recovery from the pair of them. And you could still maybe have at least one more in the case of Mike, because Volker Krebs has 11 seconds up to Casey on in front of them. But Mike still has a chance to make it one more and untie himself from Volker for that hard charger. Gilles leads the way in that fourth position, and the blue and black machine being chased by the purple of the 086.
Not a bad points day for Estupinian, though. Not a bad race at all for Cavanaugh, who's been looking very solid the second half of the race. If anything, Joe, Cavanaugh's been looking great since the pit stop cycle just about began, where he was able to capitalize on some of the mistakes for drivers like Orr. And since then, actually gained a couple spots with that pit window.
Yeah, we have to remember that that pit strategy is just as important. You really got to make sure that you get that all right. And I do love the bounty hunter racing theme that they've got. I only just noticed that it was Boba Fett on that car. So the bounty hunter name now makes complete sense to me, as Paul Cavanaugh is going to need a good amount to the force here, I think, to try and bring this one home and stay out of trouble.
Yeah, still 3 seconds back of Costas, but I think he's pretty safe in this spot. He's been even speed when it comes to Jeremy Hall, if not a little bit quicker the past lap or so. By the way, this was the other car seen fall off into the side wall again. That a 907 machine's not have been having the greatest starts to the season, but having to lose at least 3 laps now this race from incidents to 907.
Another driver that's done a really good job throughout this one. It's kind of been mostly quiet. We've only seen a little bit of him. Is Chris Costas sitting in P6. It's going to be a good day for him. I do love his story, as apparently his girlfriend helped him prep him for PCA races in years past. And his teammates thought that was so awesome that they said, you got to marry her. And guess what? He did back in 2022. So big congratulations to them.
Absolute congratulations, and absolute romantic story about, you know, sometimes you find your perfect match, to say the very least. And it's important to have someone who supports your goals and your dreams in life, to be able to move up in life. If you don't have that support, it's hard. If you find that support, never let them go.
Indeed. So as we continue to watch the 13 of Cavanaugh, Jeremy Hall, after he was released from his pit stop, sandwiched between Paul and Kevin here, seeing if he could take 7th place away. And actually that is Costas just in front of them. So Chris not out of the woods yet with 8 minutes to go. Just got to make sure he brings this one home. Battle for 20th, a little farther down. Abuhaka with the Roxy car. That's Jim Walsh just in front of him. Jim back out after taking his spare car. And still on the lead lap, we should note.
Looks like we had an error one sideways. Jeff Williams this time on the side of the camera for the battle for 7th. But I was about to say, Costas, if anything, has lost a lot of time these past 2 laps. Big wiggle, Cavanaugh, good save.
Don't lose the car now. Hold on to those tires. Make them last just a little bit longer. Definitely don't want to lose it down in Moss Corner, because that is a place where it's easy to find the wall. There's not much runoff to the outside. Jim Walsh here with Nathan Abuhaka close behind. Jim, one of those drivers that races in real life. I've gotten the chance to not only meet him over the course of my calling the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America, actually the West Series, I should say, but got to call him out on track many times, as well as in the Endurance Challenge. As well, here we go. We get a little bit of a battle, and Orr was not happy about losing that spot. He's trying to get it back, but no dice this time.
Trying to pressurize the mistake, try and force Hall up the track to get side by side for Clayton. Instead, has to reset. It's going to take another lap or so to get back where he was before if he wants to get the job done. Cavanaugh's also closed up. Here's what I was mentioning with Jeff Williams. Contact this time. Garbino sends Williams sideways and sliding.
And if Garbino gets another, and yes, he has. He already has gotten a black flag for that incident. I think that's the 3rd or potentially even the 4th black flag he's had in this race. This one has kept the race control stewards very busy. I would not be surprised if there is a little chat that the drivers in the sport class will have to sit down and have with them after this race.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this much chaos coming into today, I think. But sometimes chaos finds itself in tight circumstances and tight confines. This is a track Pretty tight. Kevin Schultz lit up the tires, and another one makes a mistake for a slide through Moss.
Way back onto the course, and off he goes, just getting the dirt and grass off of his tires. We return to Costas. I shouldn't have said it's been a quiet race, because that's suddenly no longer true. He's now got Paul Cavanaugh trying his way to the inside of turn 3, but nothing doing there. Still, Paul is already on the aggression to see if he can make this position. He knows he's got very little time and few opportunities.
Tried a couple times coming out of Quebec corner, trying to swoop around the outside. That hasn't worked necessarily so far today. I think for Cavanaugh, he's going to need to set something up the inside of, say, the Mario Andretti straightaway, make a move that way. He needs to be much closer coming out of Moss to be able to do that, though, and that's much easier said than done. You can see how he's just trying to stay focused on the mindset, get good arcs, find ways to eat into the gap at this point.
He wasn't happy with that exit, apparently. You could see him shaking his head. So very self-critical, it appears, as 7th place driver hounds Chris Costas every chance he can. See if his similarly painted yellow Porsche will be the good luck charm on this one. Down out of Clayton corner. You said this is where he likes it. Takes a much earlier entry. He knows he's so much better on the brakes, and yet each time he can't manage to get in through there. Took a look at the rear view mirror, making sure that Jeremy Hall isn't going to make him regret any of these moves. Ooh, somebody off in front of him.
Stolen off big time in front of him. That's the lap car in the double Ford machine. Yunez. Some of these drivers are having some wild moments in terms of some of those that are laps down. At the very least, no factor for the battle. Oh, they're starting to get a bit defensive down the Mario Andretti straightaway, even with a 2-3 car length buffer.
Yeah, and remember they have new blue flag rules with some of these lapped cars, as when the leaders get within 1 second of them, they have 3 corners to pull off to the side and let them through. So once they get close, that's why we might be seeing a few of them almost just kind of throw themselves out of the way to make sure that they don't get a penalty for holding up the driver behind them if they are being lapped. Costas, is he going to give it up this time? No. And in fact, it didn't look any closer from Paul Cavanaugh down into turn 3.
Cavanaugh forcing some mistakes. So for Costas opened the door. Costas not having the best of lines there coming into Moss. Backed it up, trying to get himself back together. Now he's getting squeezed off and spun.
Oh, contact with him, and he's into the wall. Costas is as well. He's in an awful spot to try and get turned around. Oh, he just finds it, but he's going to run back into the wall. It all went bad right at the end for both of them. That's an absolute shame for the pair. But if you're Jeremy Hall, you're probably grinning ear to ear. He just got 2 positions with ease, gets himself 6th place.
And quite simply, that almost looked like Costas trying to get a squeeze off on that corner exit. Cavanaugh, nothing you can do except go in the runoff and then try and get back on track. Jeremy Main also taking some free real estate. This gets him up to 9th in the running order as he's off track. Carlos Lopez having a good sight line to that.
Just watching to see if he could take that 9th spot away from him. Let's get another look at this. So you think he got squeezed over, huh?
Squeeze right there and then tries to get back on track. Gets right back into him. Yeah.
Boy, and sorry, I didn't realize before that. I think that was Hall that actually made contact in that too, trying to squeeze by, so he got lucky.
It's a little bit of column A, a lot of column B. The thing is, I can see where the viewpoint might have been for Cavanaugh is, I don't want to drive in the grass. I want to stay on the pavement. He ran out of pavement area on the runoff and just ended up turning into Costas after the squeeze there. We'll have to see how that gets reviewed there. Jim Walsh had issues at that same time they drove on by.
again, trying to stay out of the way of both of them. Did a very good job of doing so. That was very well played by him. By the way, white flag is out for Alan Owens. 1 to go now up at the top. That multicolored car overtakes Mike Sachs, who has since had to come into pit lane, I think, for a second time. No, it looks like he didn't make it into pit lane, but I think he had an incident that we didn't see on screen that set him backwards once again. Alan Owens just has a couple corners to go. We said, would there be a change for the lead on lap 1? No was the answer. Was he going to be chased down? Was he going to lose it to those battling him behind? No has been the answer so far. Ferrer was able to catch back up to him. It's cut down to about a second between them, but there is lap traffic that is going to separate them and deny him the opportunity as Alan Owens exits the final corner and takes the win in event number 3 here in the PCA Series 13.
Dominant performance for the 401 machine here today, to say the very least. Still does it by more than a second. Charlie Ferrer was able to close up a fair bit, but Owens had knockout pace this entire race tonight.
Karachai with a nice podium. Lee Binkley gets to come home in 7th ahead of Kevin Orr in the end. Must have passed him while we weren't looking. Kavanaugh, after his issues, only going to come home in 11th ahead of, Costas actually just wrecked at the line, actually. That was a bit of a wild finish for him. And then I mentioned Volker Krebs. Well, he is up 17, but Peter Yurtsa going to beat him at 18 positions gained at the end of this race. Some really impressive drives from some drivers coming from far behind to take a lot of points, or at least more than I think they expected here today. So as Yurtsa last on the lead lap, crosses in a few moments. That gives us a chance to go through our running order. And Alan Owens was our winner ahead of Charlie Ferrer. Mehmet Karachai losing that second place with his spin. He's going to be kicking himself, but it's still a podium finish. Gilles Estupinian was 4th, as Ben Bulkley was P5. Then it's Jeremy Hall in the 6th position and Lee Binkley finishing in P7. Kevin Orr was 8th today, followed by Jeremy Main in 9th, and Carlos Lopez will round out our top 10. Justin?
Then it's Paul Kavanaugh, who finishes 11th after his incident. Then you have Chad Casey on in 12th. Christopher Costas finishes back in 13th. Kevin Schultz in 14th. From 32nd to 15th goes Volker Krebs. Then Bergson in 16th. Wolf, and then Yurtsa in the 18th spot rounds out the lead lappers. Then it's Saxton in 19th. Dean Chapman rounds out the top 20 for the Everglades.
21st goes to Andrew Long, as Ward Preston will be 22nd. Abu Haka in 23rd, followed by Todd Goldberg. Had a lot of drama out there in 24th. Brian Stern, P25. Jake Gerbino, many black flags. Good enough for 26th, though, as Jeff Williams was 27th. And then Matt Owens, 28th. Russell Elizondo needs to work on that race pace, apparently. Only 29th today. And Carl Boccieri, bit of a disappointing 30th for him.
31st spot going to Klassen, then Kuo in 32nd. McDonald, Drekowitz in 34th. Jim Walsh, 3 laps down in 35th. Munkia in 36th. Gil Unez back in 38th. Then you have Sunday and Ayers all the way back in 40th position, and there's still more.
Yeah, from here, I believe it's mostly our DNFs, including Lervold, Olin Murphy, Gerling, Elsom, Gardner, Whitehill, and then Del Toro was, of course, a did not start on this race. One man that did start and finished it was Alan Owens, who is going to be having a chat with us about his victory. Alan, congratulations on the win. But I'm kind of curious because, as we on our replay actually see one of your dramatic escapes amongst some of the various accidents we saw out there, it looked like you got caught a bit in the pit stops. It wasn't a terribly long, but were you playing it safe on fuel filling?
Yeah, I played a little safe on fuel. When I came out after the pit stop, there was a lot of traffic. It was a little nerve-wracking then, waiting for everyone else to cycle through their pit stops. But happy to get back in the lead after.
If I'm seeing right, I don't believe. No, we did have you at least last round. It looks like at Portimao, but that one didn't go as well. So, does it feel like this really gets the Series 13 kind of kicked off for you, since you had to miss the first one and you really didn't have much to write home about in the others?
Yeah, I'm a little bit rusty out of practice, but this is my home track, Mosport. I race here in real life. I've won around here in real life. I've been racing here for 25 years, so very happy to represent Upper Canada region for PCA.
Well, it clearly came in handy. So I have to ask then, what's the secret? Are you willing to divulge what makes one fast around Mosport?
You got to be brave on corner entries and just be smooth.
Smooth indeed you were. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you so much.
That was Alan Owens taking victory today in race 3. That takes us now to second place as Justin has caught up with Charlie Ferrer.
Yes, indeed. Charlie Ferrer coming away with second step on the podium here tonight, able to get within a second and a half there. Charlie, how would you describe that close-up that you had to try and get yourself to Alan Owens, doing a good job doing so in the second half of the race?
Yeah, Alan's an incredible driver, and, you know, being his home track, he definitely had an advantage on us, and races on that track, so super fun to even keep up to him at that level. And Mehmet, you know, he does a ton of track events as well in California, and just great guys to race against.
What tonight you felt was the most difficult thing to make sure you maintain a good rhythm at a track like this tonight?
You know, we got really fortunate with the smooth start, and then really the top 5, 6 of us had really smooth track, and then it was just dealing with some lap traffic. You know, some of the guys are super patient and are really clean, and others still want to sort of race a little bit. They're super fast though too, like Dean's super fast, so it doesn't surprise me that he's keeping pace with us. But, you know, I had a couple times where it was sort of close where I had to lock up, so I didn't come into the back of them. So, but again, overall for us up front, it was super clean.
So with that being said, almost the halfway point of the season, what's going through your mind knowing you're one of the favorites when it comes to the consistency you've shown so far in the races amongst the championship?
You know, the only thing I would recommend is doing the EDEs when we have them, you know, I think on Monday nights before the race day. That really helps me out with all the instructors and pro level guys that are there. I can't see enough about that with PCA Sim. And, you know, just practice. You got to learn the tracks, and you got to learn how to just keep that pace. And, you know, instead of working on your fastest laps, like Chris says, you know, work on, you know, getting your slowest lap speed lower. So, you know, just trying to get a little bit smoother consistency in your laps.
Once again, congratulations on the podium here today, Charlie.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Greatly appreciate it.
Charlie Ferrer coming away second spot tonight. Karachai is standing by as well. He finished in third. Here's with Joe.
Indeed, Mehmet. Unfortunately, a step down from the front row where you started. Was the spin you had coming out of turn 2 kind of the pivotal moment on this race?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I'm glad despite that I managed to pull off the third spot, right? That was a pretty big incident.
It definitely surprised me that you stayed as high as you did, yeah, after that. But before that, I have to say, you did hold up good against Alan Owens. You kept him kind of in sight and at least honest in this race. If it wasn't for the mistake, do you think you could have been up there with Charlie and Alan vying for the win?
He was fast. Alan was really fast. Maybe I could have gotten second, but, you know, like without Alan making a mistake, that would have been a tall order.
That's understandable, and glad to see you have a realistic outlook on it. But what's your realistic outlook on the next race? We're going to Silverstone, and it's another very fast track.
Yeah, and I heard it rain, so that's going to be interesting. I really don't know, taking one at a time, right, as they come. But like it's been super fun with the Porsche Club of America, all the training they do, all the tips they give. It's an awesome environment, awesome community.
It is fun to watch everybody get to work together. Well, again, still, congratulations on a third, showing incredible speed, and we'll get to chat with you when we head off to England.
Thank you. I hope so too.
That was Mehmet Karachai finishing P3 today. And that's going to wrap us up. So we want to mention once again that if you didn't hear us before, we're going to Silverstone on February 26th for the next race in the sport class. But we've got one more to go here at Mosport. Tomorrow night, February 13th, the challenge class will wrap things up before we head off to Silverstone. A big thank you goes to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, as well as to our team tonight, Ramiro and Justin. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing. I'm Joe Peak. And until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
Thank you, guys. See you.